All right, so quantum computers cracking encryption. Big deal, right? You've probably seen the headlines. Chinese researchers, D-Wave quantum computer, cracking RSA encryption. This stuff keeps me up at night. I mean, we're talking about the encryption that protects like everything. Your online banking, password managers.
Yeah, and what's really interesting here is this isn't some, far-off threat anymore. This research team actually factored a 50-bit RSA integer. They used D-Wave's advantage system, which anyone can just buy.
So not just theory anymore. This is really happening. And I bet what's everyone really worried is this whole harvest now, decrypt later thing.
Right, exactly. I mean, as Prabhat Kaur, she's a senior analyst over at Everest Group, said, the need for these quantum-safe solutions, it's becoming super clear. Right now, as we speak, someone could be stealing data, encrypted data, with plans to just decrypt it later.
Yeah.
When quantum computers are even stronger.
So data, I think, is safe today. Like tomorrow, not so much. Financial records, personal messages, all up for grabs. Okay, so that's unsettling, a ticking time bomb. But we're not just like sitting ducks here. What's being done? I mean, they wouldn't be talking about it if there wasn't some plan.
Right. So the cybersecurity world, they're on it. The main defense that's being developed is called post-quantum cryptography, PQC for short, because who wants to say all that? And it's all about new encryption. Encryption that's resistant to, well, everything, both classical and quantum computers.
New encryption for a new era in computing. Makes sense, I guess. But like, what makes it quantum resistant?
It's all about math. Really, really complex mathematical problems that even a quantum computer is going to struggle with. There are actually a bunch of different approaches, each one with its own way of making encryption much tougher to crack.
Okay, so let's break down some of these PQC methods. One I keep hearing about is lattice-based cryptography.
Yeah.
Lattice, like for garden.
Not quite, but you can kind of picture it. Imagine a jungle gym, but this jungle gym has like an infinite number of paths. Now try to find the shortest one from one point to another.
I'm already lost just thinking about it.
Right. So in lattice-based cryptography, these jungle gyms are actually complex mathematical structures called lattices. And finding the shortest path, even for a quantum computer, it's incredibly hard unless you have the secret key. That key is like having a map.
So kind of like a super complicated game of connect the dots, but you need the right key to even play. What about that other one? Code-based cryptography. Sounds like something out of a spy movie.
Totally. Remember the Enigma machine?
Vaguely. World War II, right?
Exactly. The Nazis used it. Code-based cryptography is kind of like that, but obviously way more advanced. Those codes were eventually cracked. Modern code-based cryptography. Much more complex and unpredictable.
So scrambling messages with noise, making them impossible to decode without the key. Like Enigma 2.0.
You could say that. Then you've got hash-based cryptography.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
This one is like a magic treasure box. It can only be opened with a very specific key. And this key, it's generated from what's inside. You can't figure out what's in there without that key.
You can look, but you can't touch.
Basically. Then there are the ones that, they're a bit of a mouthful. Multivariate polynomial cryptography and isogeny-based cryptography.
Catchy.
Right. So the multivariate polynomial cryptography, it's all about solving these super complex equations, lots of variables. It's like a giant Sudoku puzzle, but way harder. And even with a quantum computer, finding the right combination takes forever. Then there's isogeny-based cryptography. It uses something called elliptical curves. Imagine trying to find your way between islands, but there are like secret paths. You need the right map, and that's the private key.
Okay, so I need a degree in advanced mathematics to even follow this. It sounds like we're building some serious defenses. But what about AI? Isn't there potential there for AI to be used to enhance those quantum attacks? Or even break these new PQC methods?
Yeah, that's a concern that cybersecurity experts are very aware of. AI can actually play two sides in all of this.
Two sides. Okay, how so?
So on the one hand, AI, it could be used to optimize those quantum algorithms, making them even more powerful, like giving a quantum computer an energy drink or something.
So basically, even faster, more efficient quantum attacks.
Yeah.
Not exactly what we want.
Definitely not. But here's the other side. AI. We can also use it defensively. So it's like, imagine this AI guardian, and it's always there, monitoring for any attacks, looking for patterns, predicting vulnerabilities, even adapting those encryption methods, staying one step ahead.
So AI versus AI, they're battling it out, but in the digital world.
Exactly. It's constantly evolving. But the potential for AI to seriously boost our defenses, huge. We're already seeing it. It's called AI-augmented cryptography, using AI to build those more resilient systems, like giving our digital world its own immune system.
Now that you mentioned it, that makes me feel a little better. So we've got PQC, we've got AI on our side. What else? Any other strategies in the works?
So, layered encryption.
Okay, like what's that? Layers.
Instead of using just one encryption method, we're talking about combining a bunch of them. Different types of encryption, different security measures, all those layers.
Multiple locks on the front door.
Basically, it's called defense in depth. Someone manages to compromise one layer, they've still got to get through all the rest of them. And the key here is diversity. Use a bunch of different encryption methods, each one with its strengths. Makes it way more resilient.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Lots of walls. So what about the keys themselves? I mean, if you have the key, the lock doesn't really matter, right?
You're right, and that's why key management is so important. It's everything. I mean, think about it. You could have Fort Knox, right? Protecting a piece of paper that could unlock it all.
Okay, no, that's scary.
That's your key. The strongest encryption means nothing if someone gets their hands on the key.
Like having a bank vault, but then leaving the key taped to the front door.
And that's why everyone's focused on this secure key management. There's key rotation, so you change the keys all the time.
Don't even give them time to find the lock. What else?
There's key splitting. This one's really cool. Imagine, say, launching a nuclear missile requires multiple keys.
Like in the movies, right?
Exactly, so no one person can do it.
Okay, I mean, that makes sense. But how does that work for encryption keys?
It's called Shamir's secret sharing. The key, it's split up, divided into all these different parts, and you need a certain number of them to put it all back together again.
Smart. Okay, so we're splitting up keys, we're rotating them. Anything else?
Well, remember how I mentioned quantum key distribution, QKD?
Yeah, vaguely.
It uses quantum mechanics to create these keys. They're basically unbreakable. And the best part, they instantly reveal if someone is trying to snoop on them.
That's what we need.
So it makes key exchange way more secure. And it's not just theoretical. They're actually using it in some places. Remember those Chinese researchers who cracked the RSA encryption?
Yeah.
Well, China's got this quantum satellite communication system. They're already using it for secure communications.
So they're figuring out how to break the encryption, but they're also using the same tech to build ultra-secure systems. That's interesting.
It is. Quantum technology. It's a double-edged sword. But we're not just talking about software and all those algorithms. Remember when we were talking about layered security? Well, there's another layer we can add, a hardware layer.
Hardware? Wait, so we're talking actual physical devices now. Tell me more.
So it's like a final handshake, but it happens in the real world, not online.
The real-world handshake. Hey, now you've got me curious. How would that even work?
Okay, imagine this. Two devices, right? They need to create a secure connection. They've done all the digital checks, used all the latest post-quantum cryptography, the whole 9 yards. But before anything sensitive gets sent, there's this one last step. A physical verification. They have to be in the same location.
Wait, so they can't be across the world from each other. They have to be, like, in the same room.
Exactly. So maybe you plug in a special hardware module, or you scan a code generated by the other device. Whatever it is, it can't be faked.
Ah, okay. So even if someone hacked both of those devices, they still couldn't connect without physically getting their hands on both of them. It's like needing an actual key for a lock, not just a code.
Exactly. So you're seriously reducing the risk of those remote attacks. Makes it way harder for an attacker to pretend to be something they're not because they can't do that handshake.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense. But needing to be in the same physical location, wouldn't that be, I don't know, kind of a pain? Like, slow things down.
It might, yeah. This kind of approach, it'd probably be for, like, high security stuff, critical infrastructure, think power grids, financial systems, that kind of thing. In those cases, that extra layer of protection, worth it.
It's like having a super secure computer system, but for specific connections. Ultra secure.
Yeah.
And basically impossible to get into remotely.
You got it. It's about having that layered approach, combining, the best of both worlds, physical and digital safeguards. And here's the thing. This hardware layer, it could actually help with quantum attacks too.
Wait, really? But I thought we were talking like physical security, not, something that's quantum resistant.
Both. Okay, so let's say a quantum computer actually does manage to crack the digital encryption.
Right.
With this hardware layer, they still need to get past that physical confirmation. It's like an insurance policy.
Like a backup for your backup. I like it.
Exactly. Create enough layers, each one with its strengths and weaknesses, and it's just so much harder for the attacker. They might break through one layer, but then boom, there's another and another. You want to make their job as hard as possible.
So lots of walls. But what's stopping someone from just like, I don't know, taking apart the hardware and figuring out how it works?
Well, that's where things like tamper-evident and tamper-resistant designs come in, make them super difficult to, physically mess with. Sensors, if someone tries to open it up or change something, the device could erase the keys, even self-destruct.
Okay, so it fights back.
Basically. And it's not just about keeping the device safe when it's plugged in. What about when you're transporting it?
Oh, right. Someone could try to grab it then.
Right, so super secure delivery protocols, like how they transport those diplomatic pouches, secure every step of the way.
So chain of custody. Got it. Okay, so lots of precautions for the device itself, but how do they actually verify each other? You keep saying handshake, but what does that actually mean?
Okay, so the handshake, it uses what's called a challenge response protocol. So each device sends a challenge, and to answer it correctly, you need the right cryptographic key and the processing power. It's like a secret knock.
Okay, so it's not enough to just be in the same room. The devices need to prove they are who they say they are with these challenges.
And here's the other thing. By having the devices handle this whole process, you're taking out the human element.
Which is usually the weak link, right?
Exactly. No risk of someone slipping up or, getting tricked into revealing something they shouldn't.
So we're using this advanced cryptography and these physical safeguards. I mean, it's super interesting. How does it all work with that post-quantum encryption we talked about before?
Okay, so think of the hardware confirmation as like an extra line of defense, a bonus. Even if someone cracks the PQC, they still have to get past this physical barrier.
Double the protection. Got it.
It's about making it as hard as possible for the attacker every step of the way.
Well, this has been fascinating. It's like we're getting ready for a digital arms race, but with quantum weapons.
In a way, yeah. But this is just the tip of the iceberg, really. There's so much more we could dive into.
I bet. But sadly, we are out of time. So that's it for our deep dive into the world of quantum-resistant cybersecurity. We hope you found it informative, maybe a little bit alarming, but hey, that's the world we live in, right?
It was a pleasure being here.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and most importantly, stay secure.